What's going on YouTube? So as crossovers have taken over the market, people began to want ones that stand out in design from the rest of the pack. And that's where this Mercedes GLC Coupe fits into the equation. For all the people that want something a little bit more special than the mainstream GLC. But is this the best version of the GLC? Let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's go ahead and kick things off with the exterior styling. Now, of course, this is the GLC Coupe, so it does share most of the same styling with the regular GLC. And for 2020, it gets the same refresh, which subtly changes, the fascia just to kind of look a little bit softer, of a little bit of a different shape. Now, what the big change is, though, for this GLC 43 is that you now get the full AMG fascia. So previously the 43 had the diamond fascia, but now it's got the almost exactly the same face as the 63 AMG. Now this specific example has the AMG night package, so that's going to black out these elements down here at the bottom as well as right here. And then turning over here to your headlights, we do of course have fully LED headlights as standard equipment. There are two different arrangements, but we have the fancier adaptive layout. Now for the GLC 43 Coupe, Mercedes does keep things pretty simple. You've got four different wheel options. So you have a standard 19-inch alloy, that's what you're looking at right here, and you can get this design with or without contrast. And then you also have an optional 20-inch alloy, again, with and without contrast. And then coming up here to your mirrors, they are fully loaded across all the models. So you have power folding, auto dimming, heating, as well as blind spot monitoring. And then with the AMG night package, this top part is blacked out.
Now you may be saying that the front doesn't look too different for this GLC Coupe model, but you can't say that about the side and the rear because this really looks nothing like the regular GLC model. And by coupe, what Mercedes means by that is they're going to make this roof slope back a lot more than it did previously and kind of give it a trunk-like look with a big spoiler up top. Now, as far as the taillights, these have also been modified. These are a lot larger than on the regular GLC. They still are fully LED, and they do have a chrome accent up top. And then down below that, we do have a fully blacked out rear diffuser with this AMG Night model. And then we also have quad exhaust pumping out the optional AMG performance exhaust that this model has. Now, like a lot of Mercedes models, you're only going to get a few safety systems as standard equipment, since this model will only come standard with forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection. If you want some of the more advanced safety systems, that's going to be the driver's assistance package, and that will throw in active lane keeping assist, evasive steering assist, active blind spot monitoring, and an advanced adaptive cruise control system. Well guys, that sums up the unique exterior styling of this GLC Coupe. So let's go ahead and hop inside before we take this AMG model out on the road.
Now walking up to the new GLC Coupe, they have updated the key fob to the latest Mercedes design with real metal trim. You will also find a standard smart entry system and remote start via the Mercedes Me application. And of course, to get inside the vehicle, all you have to do is just reach behind the handle, and when you do, your mirrors will electrically fold out. Alright, now taking a first look inside of this cabin, just like with the regular GLC, you'll notice not a ground-up redesign of the interior, but more of a modernization. Now, as far as the different interior material and color options, of course, you do have a lot to choose from. Now, standard on this model is going to be MB-Tex leatherette in black only, but our model and most models are going to come with real leather seating in your choice of black, silk, saddle brown, or two new color options, which are magma gray and cranberry red. There is also some Designo Napa leather options available for a special platinum white pearl. And then as far as your different trims, there are several. We have the optional carbon fiber. Now turning over here to your door trim, of course it is beautifully appointed. So you have leather that runs across the armrest. You also have more above it with a red color contrast stitching detail. And it is soft touch across the top. All through here, this is a real aluminum panel with an aluminum speaker grill inside. And then checking out the seats here, we do have the standard 14-way power adjusting seats, including a power thigh extension. You also have 3-person memory seating. And then here on the GLC Coupe, heating is going to be standard, but ventilation is optional. Coming down from there, of course, you have 4 fully automatic windows. Now, as far as the seat itself, like I already mentioned, this is the optional real leather, and this is a really beautiful seat. Like the red color contrast stitching detail, we also have an Alcantara insert and some really aggressive bolsters. Now, like I already mentioned, a lot of this cabin does stay the same after this 2020 refresh, but that's definitely a good thing since this has always had a very nice cabin in terms of materials. So across your upper dashboard, this remains a soft touch plastic with a color contrast stitching detail. You can option on a leather dashboard if you prefer. Down below that, we have some real aluminum trim that runs behind the screen. And then in typical GLC and C-Class fashion, we have this big waterfall, which is whatever material you selected. In this case, it's going to be the carbon fiber trim. And finally, down here on the side where our knee would rest, we have a nice leather padding with another color contrast stitching detail. This button has also been updated for 2020. Now checking out the gauges here, these are actually the older style analog gauges. They do come standard on the GLC, but like in the regular GLC we showed you guys about 6 to 8 months ago, you can get a fully reconfigurable gauge cluster as an option. But as far as this one, you have a large multi-function display and you can cycle through all the standard affair of information. Now we have also optioned for a really large and really vivid head-up display. I certainly like the way this looks, and it contains also a lot of different types of information. Then heading back here to the steering wheel, of course we have electric power assisted steering, and we also have one of my personal favorite steering wheels in the auto industry, this AMG steering wheel. So it's nice flat bottom, you have real metal trim here in the middle part, and then you have a really nice squared off bolster on the side. Now, as far as the wheel itself, it is power adjusting on every single model, and you can also add heating for $250. Now, on the opposite side here, you'll notice we have large aluminum paddle shifters, and then right behind that, you have your traditional Mercedes shifter. So just like in every model, you push down for drive, and then you can bump up the opposite direction to activate the backup camera. So as you can see on this model, we have the 360-degree camera system, and we also have a bunch of different views that we can switch between over there. This is part of the parking assistance package, and it does also throw in automatic, perpendicular, and parallel parking abilities. And then for park, just press the end of the stalk. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about the interior storage. In typical Mercedes fashion, you push that button and it does open up in 2 parts. And once inside, you have a pretty nicely sized bin here with a nice felt lining at the bottom, as well as 2 charging USB ports. Now, even though this is a nearly $80,000 Mercedes, that does not mean it is exempt from the coupon test. So let's go ahead and stick these guys in there, see how she does. It does pretty good. You probably would want to fold your sheet of coupons there a bit to make that fit a little better, but it's pretty decent for a vehicle in this size category. Up in front of that here, we have our 2 cup holders. We have another little area right here that we might be able to stick a cell phone. And we also have a 12-volt outlet. Now back behind that, you'll notice your updated MBUX controller right here. And you also have your drive mode controllers as well as your manual mode settings. On the other side, this is where you have your audio system. Now in this example, we have the optional 590 watt 13 speaker Burmester surround sound system. So let's go ahead and take a sample. As you would expect, sound quality is excellent. And moving on up the dashboard, we have a few physical controls. And right above that, we have our climate controls. Now, standard on the GLC Coupe is going to be a dual zone automatic setup. You do have the option of getting a 3-zone climate setup if you prefer that, but we just have the dual zone one. And of course, adjusting it is very simple. Just use these toggles right here. You can also press down in the middle for a menu so that you can adjust it digitally up here on the screen if you prefer to do that. Alright, and now we are at that screen itself. This is one of the important upgrades for 2020 because this is a new 10.25 inch display and it is standard across all of the GLCs. It is also running the brand new MBUX system, which means for the first time this is now a touchscreen. So that's certainly something a lot of people have been looking for. And then, like I said, you already mentioned, you have the new touchpad if you don't want to touch it and put fingerprints on the screen. Now you will have navigation on most of the models. It is an option. We also have the augmented reality navigation system, which displays a live camera view as you navigate. So that's very cool. And of course, you do have both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities. And moving on up here, we have an auto dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes as standard equipment. And then up at the very top, you will notice this change from the regular GLC, and that's that you only have a standard size moonroof. Just by the way that the roof is designed in this coupe version, the panoramic moonroof would probably cut into headroom too much, so they have just opted to stick with the regular sized unit.
Alrighty, so getting into this GLC Coupe's rear seat. Now this is obviously probably one of the biggest departures over the regular GLC model because, you know, here in the rear, that headroom is going to be sacrificed over the regular GLC model. However, I'm happy to report that it's not that much. It's less than an inch less headroom than the regular GLC, but I will point out that stuff like the windows are a lot smaller back here, so I feel a little bit more claustrophobic, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now, as far as your actual legroom and headroom figures, you're looking at 37 inches of rear legroom and 39 inches of rear headroom, right on par with that of the BMW X4. And behind rear seating position, I have about 5 to 6 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. Now, as far as your feature set, we do have vents here in the center. However, we're not going to have climate controls on this particular model. And then down below that, we have a household style outlet as well as a 12-volt outlet. Heated rear seats are optional. However, this model does not have them. And then in the center, we do have a fold-down armrest with some storage inside and 2 pop-out cup holders. Now, walking up to the tailgate of this GLC Coupe, Mercedes does throw in a standard hands-free power one. So just wave your foot under the bumper to open. And once inside of this area, you're not really going to find a huge reduction in space over the regular GLC. It's going to come in at 17 cubic feet behind the second row seats, and then if you fold the seats, it's going to go all the way up to 49 cubic feet of space. To be exact, that's around 5 cubic feet less than the GLC 300, and then it's right on par with that of the BMW X4. Now, as far as how they finished it, you of course have a nice carpeting along the floor, and underneath of the floor, we actually have a large amount of space. You could definitely fit quite a bit of stuff up under this floor. And then you do also have cubbies on the side, as well as your switch gear to fold the second row seats and a 12-volt power outlet. Now here at the passenger seat, of course, you do have standard power adjustment with lumbar support. However, we do also have the optional 3-person memory seating. And then in front of the passenger, we do have a good-sized glove box that's nicely felt lined. It's actually quite deep, so you could definitely fit a big fat stack of coupons in here. And then up top, we do have a sun visor with an LED light and mirror, and it does also detach as well as extend.
Performance SUVs, like I guess I'm just not quite used to you know, this type of performance out of these SUVs. You know, like in the X3 M40i, which I guess is pretty much a competitor to this. I mean, not exactly the same body form, but the same, you know, foundation, same size. You know, both of them are just, they really just put a smile on your face when you get on the throttle.
Yep.
Now, as far as the numbers on this is a 3-liter twin-turbo V6. I'm going to be making 385 horsepower, 384 pound-feet of torque, so really good numbers.
Yeah. Certainly very, very quick. You know, 0 to 60 is going to be 4.7 seconds. So, I mean, you're looking at, you know, a vehicle that is an SUV that has an under 5 second 0 to 60. Almost 400 horsepower. So this is certainly, like Drew was mentioning, this is certainly a performance machine. Yeah.
Sounds really good too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the speed, like it's got a lot of just a visceral sound.
You know, and just getting up to speed here, we're going around 45 miles per hour. Once again, kind of showcases the beauty of this vehicle, because we just, you know, our hard accelerated, had a lot of fun, laughed a lot. But once you get up to speed, you know, this rides exactly the same as a regular GLC. You know, it really has a very comfortable ride. And as far as the, you know, noise level entering into the cabin, it's typical Mercedes fashion. Almost zero noise entering into this cabin. And I will go ahead and get a sound level meter reading here. Going around, I think we're at 45. 45. Looks like we're looking at around 56 decibels. So, you know, that's very, I think the, I think it's a little bit less than the X3 M40i, I believe. But certainly something to consider. It's definitely really the best of both worlds going on here.
Now, since this is the 43, I just went ahead and put it into the Sport Plus mode.
Why not?
Yeah. The throttle, or the exhaust, is a lot more aggressive. That sound, wow, it really amps it up a lot. We have the AMG Performance exhaust, so this is the most aggressive exhaust setup you can get on this. And it gives you all the fun goodies that,
yep.
I mean, listen to that, really nice sounding, deep sound. It also has the snap, crackles, and pops that we love so much. You know, you get that here.
It's the quick way to my heart, is a snap.
to go ahead and talk about the transmission. Now, we do have a 9-speed automatic transmission, but as you can see, it is very fast shifting. Really seems almost like a dual clutch. It's extremely fast shifting. The other thing worth noting with the 43 AMG version is that we have standard 4MATIC all-wheel drive, but we have the AMG performance setup of that. So what that's going to mean is that we have a torque split, or a default torque split, of 69% rear, 31% of the power to the front. You know, so that just gives it kind of just a sportier dynamic, since we're more of at a rear bias.
Yeah, but the all-wheel drive is always there in case you need it.
That's right.
So. And as with every video, we do kind of want to highlight, you know, maybe some of the best aspects of this vehicle, as well as some of maybe the downsides of it, and just kind of throw that in at the end with our airball and slam dunk. So today's slam dunk, you know, I mean, it kind of goes without saying here, it's got to be the driving dynamics, as well as that, you know, wonderful engine. Yeah, I mean, really, when you go for this 43 AMG, I mean, it's just really quite a joy to drive. Now, with that said, there is also the airball, and you know, we were talking about this off camera. This GLC Coupe, it really just kind of sacrifices a little bit in the practicality department, as opposed to just a regular GLC. So that's what we're thinking is today's airball, is because it has a little bit less cargo space. The rear is a little bit more claustrophobic. So just kind of a little bit of sacrifice there, as opposed to just a regular version.
Oh goodness.
And the last thing that I do want to talk about here is going to be the fuel economy. So for this 43 AMG model, you're actually going to get pretty decent fuel economy. I'm pretty impressed by this. It's going to come in at 18 city, 24 highway, 21 combined. And do keep in mind that that does come standard with all-wheel drive. So really not that bad of fuel economy for something with almost 400 horsepower. Definitely impressive.
So to conclude, I really just want to reiterate what I already said, which is just how enjoyable this crossover is. And really this whole segment of crossovers that's been developing recently. Having this kind of option, something that can, you know, make your crossover sporty and fun, but also incredibly livable and incredibly comfortable still in everyday life, is really just an impressive option.
Alrighty, now let's go ahead and discuss the pricing for this GLC Coupe model. Now, if you want to go for the base 300 model, that's going to start at $50,000 even. And then if you want to go for this, which is the high performance 43 AMG, that's going to be a $13,000 price premium to $63,000. Now, this particular model does have quite a few different options on it, as with pretty much any Mercedes. So we have the optional paint for $720, black leather $1620, AMG carbon fiber trim $975, AMG performance exhaust $1250, track pack $250, ventilated front seats $450, head-up display $1100, Burmester sound system $850, driver's assistance package $1700, parking assistance package $1290, exterior lighting $800, multimedia package $1250, AMG night package $750, and then the destination charge of $995. I know it feels like I'm almost out of breath after reading that. Brings this total one to $77,000 even. Which, you know, I have to say, this is definitely an SUV packing a lot of performance and style. Now, whether you like this exterior styling better than the regular GLC, that's just going to be up to you, but it definitely has a lot to offer in this trim level. Well guys, we've enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2020 Mercedes GLC 43 AMG Coupe. We really appreciate you watching, and if you've made it this far in the video, hopefully that means you enjoyed it at least a little bit. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.